Aloha and how's it? Today we are talking all about how to get started on LinkedIn, whether you're just coming back to it or maybe you're here for the first time. So, more on that in a minute. Any interesting adventures over the weekend? You know, I love to ask. We went exploring some surf spots around the island with some friends, and we discovered a number of new places to go surfing when it's not firing on the North Shore. The kids, they thought it was a blast to check out new beaches. And it's just about, I think for me, it's about getting in nature and those simple things in life that just bring so much joy to our lives. But now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. So if you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer, be sure to like this post, whether you're watching live or from the replay. Leave your questions below and I will answer them after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. But let's get directly to today's topic. I'm really excited about this. It's been something that I've been receiving a lot of DMs, a lot of messages about, a lot of emails. It's all about just getting started on LinkedIn. Like, what's the best way to go about this? You know, it seems simple, like, okay, I should just get on LinkedIn and start doing it. But what do you actually do? So many experts who refer to themselves as like the industry's best kept secret are struggling to figure out what to do on LinkedIn at the beginning. And if that sounds like you, you're in the right place because it's very difficult to feel like going from becoming that invisible professional to becoming known as the go-to expert on in your niche, in your industry. That transition can be very challenging. You're probably very good at what you do, and it's probably challenging for you to bring that out and really figure out and find your voice on LinkedIn. So too often people get straight into the tactics. So we think, okay, I'm invisible right now and I really want to get visible. I really want the right people to find me. So we start Googling and it's like things like how to get started on LinkedIn, how to update my LinkedIn profile, how to grow my network. So every article is going to like douse you with more and more information than you could possibly implement with the time you have available. And then you're left with all of this how-to content. You know, you probably if you're like me, you have all of these things bookmarked across the web, you know, and you're like, okay, I have all this stuff I should actually implement. But in reality, it just makes you feel really overwhelmed. And I've been there and I've done that with LinkedIn in particular and many other aspects of my business. So why do experts have to complicate it? Like, why do you have to complicate LinkedIn? Shouldn't it just be something more straightforward where you don't actually have to get into the weeds of understanding everything about how it works? You don't have to become a total social media holic, or you don't have to be a data scientist to untangle the algorithm, or that complete, like, in your face salesperson who's so direct, it just makes you gag. All right, so we want to avoid all of those things. But if you've ever had these thoughts run through your head, I have too. And I work with a lot of people who have the same feelings around LinkedIn. And it's like, it's the thing, those emotions that seem to like bubble up to the surface. So even as a professional who's been using LinkedIn consistently for more than a decade, I still feel like I cannot keep up with all the changes on LinkedIn. And frankly, I don't need to. I only need to focus on what works for me and the dead simple and very boring sometimes approach I use to get the results that I want, what my clients want, and what my students are seeking. So, not to worry, LinkedIn is not as hard as experts make it out to be. So, those of us actually getting the results we want, we're not buried in data or how to books or paying through the nose for like high level strategic LinkedIn consulting on a regular basis. Getting started on LinkedIn is not difficult. If you know exactly what to focus on from the get go and you have a clear intention for the channel, we're going to dive into that in just a little bit more. Okay, aloha for those who don't know me. I'm so excited you're here, whether you're watching live or from the replay. My name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a soon to be launched beta program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 really fast on LinkedIn with their profile and network. I'll put the link below at the end of this. If you're interested, just know that it is available and I'm taking only a few students, so not that many. So I help those industry superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become the go-to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact. And in this live, we are going to talk about Why not conquering that fear to get started on LinkedIn results in never achieving that visibility, never achieving that impact in your field, and how you can get started with just a few simple actions. So, are you ready? I am so ready. I've had my coffee and I've got more. So, let's totally do this. So, go ahead and like this post, whether you're live, watching from the replay, give it some social love. That would be awesome. All right. So, one mistake that I see many people exploring LinkedIn as one of their ways to communicate with their tribe, to build their expertise, strengthen that personal brand, whether they're inside a 9 to 5 job or they're running their own business, this applies to both, is that they need to spend a ton of time learning about LinkedIn and gearing up for it. So, like, there's this misconception that it takes like, okay, I have to really think about this, I have to do all this research, I have to pull together all my content before I can do anything on LinkedIn, and until I'm ready to press that go button, I'm just going to stay away. So they tend to play the comparison game. They're looking at other people in the field who have a bigger audience. Maybe those people have more engagement, they look amazing on LinkedIn. You go to their profile and like, oh my gosh, did they use like every single feature possible to make their profile pop? Mine doesn't look anything like it. So they look like they have it all together, and it's easy for us to get those thoughts of, how will I ever do that? I still have a job. I've got kids. I've got a family. I've got responsibilities, and I'm still in my 9 to 5. I don't have time to learn all of that. And do I even want to learn all of that to make LinkedIn work for me? So that comes into it as well. So the thoughts of, I'm not a social media person, I don't have a lot of content, I don't need to fill my pipeline or get sales calls. So what else is LinkedIn used for? I don't need a job right now. So why do I even need LinkedIn? So experts of all stripes discount LinkedIn until they need it. So have you ever had that moment where you're like, bummer. Like, I actually have to use LinkedIn now. Like, I'm looking for a new job. Something happens in your business. You want to make a shift. Maybe you have an aha moment and realize you want a new job, or you want to amp up your impact or start a new career. And then you come to LinkedIn with this sense of urgency, like, OMG, I need a job like yesterday. I work with a lot of those people and we try to get their profiles done. And it's just not a very good feeling place to be when you come to LinkedIn. Or maybe you think, I have no sales and I need to get on some one on one calls. I've heard LinkedIn is really good. Can you help me? And you're expecting those calls to happen like right away. The problem is, you need to learn the basics of LinkedIn before you're put into a dire situation where it's like you have to make it work or else. You really want to come to LinkedIn with a very relaxed approach, with a very professional approach. Like, you want to have a different persona, and you don't want to feel that urgency or that desperation, because that mindset, that desperation, that urgency is going to come across on LinkedIn. People feel it. Even if you think, oh, they can't feel it. I'm like behind my computer screen. I'm just typing words. Does it matter? Yes, they do feel it. It does come across. And if you're not careful, it could actually sabotage all of your efforts. Even if you're trying to come at it with positive intentions, you need to really think about, okay, am I approaching this from desperation? Like, I have to learn this, or it's really urgent. On paper, you may be doing all of the right things, but it's just not working for you. And you're like you're scratching your head, you're trying to figure out why. You're posting all the things. You think you've updated your profile, you think you're sending out the right connections. You just cannot rush LinkedIn. It's a long game. It's kind of like a long-term relationship. It's not that hard to get started and maintain, but you cannot expect to share a LinkedIn post and land like a number of six-figure clients right away. LinkedIn is just not the place for that. I feel like that's treating LinkedIn like it's the lottery, and it just isn't. So getting started on LinkedIn is like starting up a solid network. It's like building a business from the ground up. It's like honing your skills as an expert in your field. LinkedIn is the place where professionals like you and me come to network with each other, explore doing good business with other good people, and we're really focused on creating a better workplace and environment for ourselves and for others. And this is how I approach LinkedIn. This is how I teach and coach my program members to see the platform. This is LinkedIn, and it is so special. So what do we actually do to get started on LinkedIn? You're like, okay, Mindy, I heard it. I heard it. I don't want to be desperate. I don't want to be urgent. What do I do? Like, I want to get started. So the first thing you have to think about is your mindset. And we've heard that again. I go, okay, I've heard this before. Hear me out. Your intention for LinkedIn is critical. So if you don't know why you're hopping onto LinkedIn, you're going to kind of be just doing all these tactics and not sure exactly why you're doing them. So we've all heard of Simon Sinek's famous talk about finding your why. And that concept is really applicable to LinkedIn as well. So if you're just getting started on LinkedIn because some expert told you to, or you saw my post, you're like, oh, LinkedIn sounds interesting, I'll just chime in there. You really have to do a little bit more thinking about the platform. LinkedIn is it is for everyone, but it's not for everyone. So you need to open your mind to resources about LinkedIn to figure out why people use LinkedIn, not just what they do on LinkedIn. So try some different if you're struggling with this, like I don't know why I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know why I should use LinkedIn. You could try some different Google and YouTube searches if you're struggling to figure out this why and hear other people's stories of how they're using LinkedIn, why they're doing it. And you need to be really, really clear on your intention first. So let's talk about getting started on LinkedIn without the overwhelm or wondering what to do next. All right. So I have 4 steps here. The first one is what we've been talking about, which is identifying the reason you are using LinkedIn. Like, what is the number one reason? If you had to boil it down, what is the reason you are on LinkedIn? Why do you want to get on LinkedIn? What do you want to do on LinkedIn? So, is it to grow your business? A lot of people get onto LinkedIn because they realize, okay, if I want to connect with people that are business minded and in that headspace, LinkedIn is probably the best channel for me to connect with them. It's not Instagram, it's not Facebook. So, for some people, it's more along the lines of growing their business. Is it to get more leads? And that's a valid reason. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are on LinkedIn to get more leads, you will have to go about it in a different way. It's not a pay to play platform, but it is a really good place to find quality leads and to really get into those relationships with people who may turn into business opportunities for you. Are you trying to build a strong personal brand? LinkedIn is excellent for that. It's one of my personal favorites because it kind of follows you everywhere in searches. Like if you are doing some Google searches and people are looking you up, one of the first things that's going to pop up is LinkedIn. So when it looks really, really good and you are really working on that personal brand, you can almost use LinkedIn as like your home base. And I think that's a very good use for LinkedIn. Maybe you're wanting to land another job. A lot of people come to me with this in mind. They are stuck in a job that they don't want, and they are trying to pivot to something else, get on some boards, do something else with their career. So, switching careers, looking for another job is a really good reason to get onto LinkedIn and really spruce things up here. Or maybe you're just eager to start building your LinkedIn network with the right people. I'm going to raise my hand on this one because I love connecting with other professionals in the space on LinkedIn. And so this networking aspect, it allows me to connect with people because I'm an introvert. So believe it or not, I may come across as an extrovert on camera, but I'm an introvert. So being able to connect with people on my time in a way that fits with my schedule and really get into some really good conversations with other people in the field, other people in the industry, people that are outside my field. I just really love that connection aspect of LinkedIn. So that's a good reason to be on LinkedIn as well. And you may have another reason. Something may have come up as I've been talking, like, oh, you know what? I think this is my reason. So hone in on that. Sometimes even journaling about it or writing it down so you can think about it is very, very helpful. But the reason you are using LinkedIn will tell you exactly what you should or should not be doing on LinkedIn. We're going to say that again. The reason you are using LinkedIn will tell you exactly what you should or should not be doing on LinkedIn. For example, if you are here to find another job, then you might need to be posting, you think you need to be posting a ton of content to your LinkedIn profile, but you may not. All you may need is like a profile that is rock solid, that has the right keywords, that headhunters and your hiring managers are going to look at and go, oh my God, this is amazing. So you need to think about, okay, what's the reason you're here? If you are here because you're building a new business and your audience is here, it may not be critically important that, you are looking at your profile through the lens of somebody that is trying to get hired. So you really want to match it. So you probably would want to post more content because you are trying to get your business out there. You are trying to build that brand awareness. So you need to understand your reason because it dictates the tactics and the approach for you. So get clear on that first. All right. So moving into number 2, which is optimizing your LinkedIn profile to match that reason. So that's why we talked about the reason first. When you know that you are on here to find another job, to grow your business, to build your brand, get more leads, whatever it is, your profile needs to lead to that reason. It needs to reinforce that reason. It needs to strengthen it. So your LinkedIn profile is almost like I call it like your mini website, especially if you're an expert with a 9 to 5 and you don't have a website. And then for those of you with businesses and you do have a website, many times people will look you up here first before they even realize you have a website. I know it's a little bit soul crushing. You want people to find your website because it looks so good. But a lot of times they find you on LinkedIn first and then hop over to your website. So your profile needs to be optimized according to that reason for being on LinkedIn. You're not just here to look pretty or snazzy. I mean, that's great. And if it ties into your reason, good. But your profile is going to set the stage for every single interaction you're going to have with professionals and prospects on LinkedIn. So make sure that it matches. And many of us shift our profiles over time. So this is something to think about as well, because we go from either wanting to land another job to maybe we're starting a new business, or we want to get into more one-to-one conversations with people, or we want to build our personal brand. So your profile is always evolving, but once you nail it that first time, you'll understand exactly what to do the next time you need to update. So rather than haphazardly like tweaking sections and hoping for the best, a lot of people that come to me, they're like, yeah, I keep updating my profile, but I'm not sure if it's exactly right. Once you do it that first time and you do it well, then when you need to make some tweaks, it's not such a big deal. And it's much more subtle unless you're really switching careers and going drastic. Okay, so optimize your LinkedIn profile, matching that reason. Number three, you need to start growing your network with the right people. No matter what business you're in or which industry, or whether you have a corporate job or a position at a startup, maybe you're a freelancer doing your own thing, you have to have a solid network that is aligned with your current reason for using LinkedIn. So again, everything ties back to that reason. Why are you on LinkedIn? You want to build your network accordingly. So see how everything, it really just ties back to that reason. Okay, my intention for LinkedIn is what? Fill in the blank, and that tells you what you need to do with your profile and with your network. And I like to look at the that quote. I think it's Zig Ziglar who says your network is your net worth. And your network is so valuable. It is like your most valuable asset as a professional. Because if anything happens, you decide you want to make a change, you decide you want to get a new job, no matter what happens to your career, your job, your business, when you have a network, you have people who can help you if you decide to make a shift, and vice versa. You are there as a resource for them when they are needing to make a shift. So what goes around comes around. So that network is there. It's like a safety net. I know that's not very sexy to say, but it really is. It is just this beautiful thing to help you when you need resources, when you want to collaborate, when you want to explore new ideas. With a great network, you can do all of this. So it's worth the time to put into networking, and you can fit it around your own schedule. I think that's the beauty of LinkedIn as well. If you're more introverted like me, or you just feel more comfortable in an online setting, you can make a lot of great connections where you can help each other down the road. Okay. So the fourth thing is get started on LinkedIn. You're like, okay, Mindy, yeah, get started on LinkedIn. So I told you exactly what to do to get started. Talked about your reason, talked about optimizing your profile, and then start building your network. So you actually have to do these things. You can't sit here and watch this video and say, oh, yeah, that's great. Yep, yep, yep. And then forget about it. You have to actually take action. So, for those of you who feel confident with knowing what each of these three things actually entails and all of the how to's involved, you can run with this advice and just take action now. Like, you're good. You're like, okay, those are the three things I need to do. Great. I can run with that. For the rest of us, it's actually very helpful to have a framework or someone helping us along the way to make sure we actually get it done, that it's done right, and that we know what to do to maintain. So remember, if you're new to using LinkedIn or you're trying to rethink your approach, it all starts with learning these three things. Nothing else is needed to get started. You don't have to start thinking about content. You don't have to start thinking about outreach. You don't have to start thinking about playing with the algorithm and which content is most engaging. There are so many other things you don't have to think about when you're getting started on LinkedIn. So take that off the table, focus on your reason, your profile, and your network, and you'll be rock solid. And don't be afraid to start putting yourself out there. Some people are a little bit nervous with LinkedIn that they're going to do something wrong. If you're coming at it with the right intention, you're going to be fine. So don't worry. And if you're looking for that extra edge to get started on the right path, I did mention this earlier. I'm in the process of putting together a small beta group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator, which is tailored to take you through all three of these steps that we talked about today in just 5 days flat. So 1 week, and you're off to the LinkedIn races. So if you're interested in this, I am going to put that link on the screen so you can see it. I'll also put it in the comments below this video afterwards. So if you want to check it out, or even if you're just a little bit curious, go ahead, check it out. It won't hurt you. And I will see you next week on Mondays with Mindy. We're going to be diving a little bit more into getting started on LinkedIn and what that looks like. We're going to go a little bit deeper. So if you have questions about getting started on LinkedIn, or maybe there's something you're struggling with, you're like, Mindy, if you could really touch on this topic, that would be so helpful. You can either leave it as a comment, shoot me a DM if you'd rather it be private and anonymous. And my inbox is always open if you want to message me directly. So I will see you soon. Have a fantastic week and much aloha from the island today. Bye for now.